Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we have the Furibee F36, and unless you have been hiding away from quadcopter land, you recognize this design. I have another one here that I'm working on. I posted the Warlock video, but this one is basically, we're seeing one design reused or rebranded by a number of different manufacturers, but this one I find is a little bit different than what I've experienced with others of this same sort of design. This is an original Eachine E010 frame, and there are some differences I was surprised to find. This is an early on. As soon as I got my first 010, I bought three more frames quickly right afterwards, because I wanted to have spares on hand and I wanted to build. I had some projects in mind, so I built a custom quadcopter out of just the frame. But the first thing I think we need to look at is a little bit of a frame design. This one has 3 bars across the bottom, so I think you can chop one of those off and save, 0.2 grams or something like that. You can also see that the holes, let me try to get this so I can point with the other finger, or get something to point with. Maybe I can just set them down. So this frame has holes, screw holes that are all the way through. This frame does not. This frame also has T-shaped struts. I don't know how well it's going to come through camera. So they're T-shaped. They're angled on the top, which is a little better for aerodynamics, and then they're T-shaped on the bottom. Maybe that will help it maintain its integrity. The original 010 is flat struts. They're flat on the top, flat on the bottom, so not great for aerodynamics. They both still have the mechanism to keep the wires nice and tidy. And one other thing I noticed that was different, if you look here, but this might be really tough to see. Hopefully the camera will focus here. Focus, camera. There we go. You see the blue portion at the bottom? It appears to me they've cut out those notches to where the end cap is held in place. It's not real dramatic, but it seems like on both sides there's a little bit of a notch that helps support that end cap. So if the motor stems take a hit, the end cap doesn't pop off. But I don't see that on this original frame. If I get that blue just to kind of show through there, I just don't see that. I could be wrong. Let me see if I can get one of the motors to come up a little bit. We'll take a closer look. Yeah, to my eyes right here, my screwdriver hits right there. That feels flat. It feels like it catches. It's very slight, but it appears to be there on all of them. Better push that back down or it'll fly weird. Okay, let's take the canopy off. Canopy's actually secured on pretty good. They really did a nice job keeping their canopy on. And I kind of like the looks of the canopy. It's almost got like a powder-coated finish to it. And it's kind of cool looking. Got a spaceship. Nice spaceship from when I was a kid. Nice detailed sticker or something there on the top for their logo. Anyways. Now this looks a bit different as well. I wish I still had the original E010. One thing I'm noticing is that they have the labels for the motors, the positive and negative. They have them right on this board. This board also feels a lot more silver than the original. Like everything is just brighter. If you want to see, and maybe if you have any 101 at home, you can tell me this number here. Let me take my glasses off. Looks like a KZKKR2-4D, and then down here at the bottom it says ZM-2016.11.02. But this, just overall, I mean, this diode's in the same place. Many things are in the same place, but it feels like it's got a little bit of a silverish design. And these white areas between all these pads, I'm quite certain that wasn't on the old board, but maybe they just colorized it different. That's always possible. But let's look at the... No, we got to turn it around. Everything else under the hood looks the same. But those struts being different on this one could be an advantage, with it being angled instead of flat. being T-shaped. That might give it some more strength, possibly. Okay, what else? It does come with a screwdriver. It's kind of funny they included a screwdriver with this one. Oh, that's right. That's because the remote originally came with a screw in the back, and there's regulations that stipulate that if the battery plate does not have a screw in it, it can't be classified as a toy. It originally had a screw in it, but I took it out and threw that away. The battery bay holds itself in just fine without the screw. So that must have been why they included the screwdriver. And then we get the prototypical charger. In this case, it's using a slightly different plug. I believe it's a UMX. Show you that here from the battery. There we go. We're seeing this sort of connector increase in popularity when it comes to the Tiny Whoop. The Jesse Perkins, I think his name, he trademarked the Tiny Whoop name, and he's from Team Big Whoop, the drone racing team. He has a special battery now. It's a high voltage Tiny Whoop battery, and it uses this connector. And we're seeing MyLipo also install some of their more popular Tiny Whoop batteries with this connector, as well as other connectors now. And I didn't mention it, but you probably saw it. We have another set of props. And this one also comes in green. And on the box, the green looks pretty sharp. So I kind of wish I had the green one. This one features Return to Home, and I don't believe the E101 did. And Return to Home is kind of it's not a feature I use. So when you set the copter down and you arm it, if the nose is pointing this way, like it is, I'll put this back on, so we can be clear about Return to Home. Many of you already know and are just going to skip forward, and that's okay. But if someone's coming here for just the information on this vehicle, they might not have a full understanding. Okay, so if our nose is pointed this way, let me get my other orange one, and then we bind up and we're flying, and then the copter's way over here to our right, and we want to bring it back to us. If we hit the Return to Home, it doesn't come this way back to us. It actually just travels in a straight line along this path, regardless of its location. So if it's a long ways over that way, it might come back to your general direction, but anything to your right, it's actually going to go by you. It won't go to you. So Return to Home can be a useful feature. It can also be a feature that throws you off if you hit it on accident. Return to Home is activated by the left stick and pressing it down. If you press that left stick down and hold it, you turn on headless mode, and that's the mode where you can, regardless of which direction the nose of the vehicle is facing, away on the right stick is always away, and back is always back, and left is always left, and right is always right. That can be handy, but it's just not a mode that I use to fly. I really haven't experimented with it much either. But I'll show it to you in the flight video. Our different rates, we only have 2. And I believe that's the same as it was on the E010. And that's this button here. Click it, you'll get some beeps, high rates and low rates. To do the flips, you have to have your stick in the center. I believe I wasn't able to get it to work with the stick not in the center position, but click it down, put it in the direction, and it'll do a roll that way, forward, do front flip, left, and so on. And that's really all there is to it. It comes with this battery that I showed you previously. It doesn't have anything printed on it. The instructions say it's 160 mAh. 160 mAh? Let me double check that. The GearBest website lists this battery as 150 mAh, so that must be what it is, even though it's not printed on here and it's not in instructions. And it does come with a dual language set of instructions. But I've pretty much covered those instructions right here and now. Next thing to do, charge the battery, go fly it. Got our lights, they're not nearly, you can't hardly see them underneath that canopy, can we? But I think this auto binds. No? Okay, we're ready to go here. I hear a warbling. But it's pretty steady. Trim it out just a touch. This thing feels like it's got a lot of thrust. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, okay, wow. Alright, let's see what happens. I'm going to hand launch it. Now, I've had the Eachine E010, and I had actually several of those, and I've used those frames to build out others. But this feels like it's got better motors or better props or something that's making it have a lot more significant thrust. This is in the lowest rates, of course. That's the return to home, which is the left stick down. Is it just going to keep doing that? Come on, stop. There we go. I think I'm in headless mode now. Yeah, I'm in headless mode, so you can do full yaw and okay. Back to regular. Okay, let's see about its flips. It's pretty tight. Let me bring that in pretty close. Whoa. That's pretty good. Rango doesn't think much of it though, does he? He's gonna mind his own business. Whoa, and it catches and it is flat. Let's do that again. Oh, I hit the headless mode again. Oh, that's the return to home I keep hitting. Okay. I gotta get that to go off. Alright, back to flying. Let's do some more. Now, I do know that this is not the same protocol as the Eachine E010 because I did try the same protocol with my Devo 7 and it did not work. So, here's a funnel, indoor funnel. Well, I'm impressed with the thrust on this thing. You know what we're going to do next? We're going to take that canopy off, put a camera on top. Do some FPV. I think this one is actually even cheaper than E010 right now. Look at that. Here, let me do this. Just so you know, I'm not messing with the throttle here when I do these things. It is all the machine. Little touchdown there. Wonder if we're getting low on battery. Whoa, jeez. Might be low on battery, but it's still... Oh, it's getting too high now. It's kind of fun. One-handed flips. Oh, had a wobble there. I mean, still. Let me get it over here closer so you can see my hands and the vehicle. I can't hardly see it when it gets down there, though. Do we have LVC? Yeah. Full throttle. So it landed itself. Interesting. Let's put a camera on it. Okay, back at the desk, and we're going to add a camera to this. I've got the CM275T. This is one of the lighter cameras on the market. Comes in at about 3.5 grams. And we're going to add that right to the top, right here. We're going to use some double-sided sticky tape to do that. But the first thing is, I'm going to use a lead on mine, but you don't have to do this. You can just cut yours off and solder it right here. These are the places that we're going to solder to. Here and here, we're going to want to be, that's pretty close, so be careful. I would come to the outside. And normally when we look at these things, they aren't marked, but Furibee has done a B- on this side and a B+ on that side. And if it weren't marked, we could use the colors from our wires. We could line up our connector. It goes in this way. And this also tells us that positive is to this side and negative is to this side. So we just need to make sure we solder that up that way, and I'm going to use, like I said, the connector. So positive is going to be near us on this side. So we're just going to put this little connector in here. I'm going to add a bit of my own solder to the tops. So if you've got a simple soldering iron at home, you can do this yourself. I don't know if my tip's quite hot enough yet. Yeah, it's doing all right. Okay. Oh, that went to the inside. I don't like that. Okay, after you solder things on, give a little pull test. I'm going to use this to try to help keep my fingers out of the way. Give it a little bend here. Okay, then I'm just going to cut enough of this off. Where'd my scissors go? Just to put here on the bottom side of our camera. So let's see, let's go about like that. We don't need that wide a strip. So let's see, let's just stick it on here. You can see I've got more than I need. You could buy a mount for this, but you don't have to do that. You can buy a mount from Great 3D or any of the other printing services. Banggood also sells a couple, but they're very fragile. They break quite a bit. I've bought, I don't know, 9 or 10 of them, and I just have been using those, and as they break, I throw them away and put on a new one. Luckily, they're very inexpensive. If I can get my fingernails to get an edge. I think I've got an edge up here, but there we go. So obviously I don't need this, and because I probably might reuse this camera, I'm just going to wrap it. When we plug it in, we want to make sure our wires line up to where red goes to red and black goes to black. Just like this. Plug that in. Of course, you might just be cutting your lead. And I'm going to put this a little farther back than I would normally. Right behind this diode that's right here. Put that back right here. Oh, it's leaning forward. Come on, lean back. Here, I know how to remedy that. We'll use the diode to our advantage. Give us a little up tilt. Not that we need it, but... So now, camera isn't quite straight. There we go, it's a little better. When we plug this in, you can line up your wires that way just to be sure if you buy one of these, anything really. And you can see I've got a light here indicating we have power, and we should be all set to go. A good many of these micro cameras have an internal regulator, so you don't have to worry about getting static on your screen when you spin up the motors. That's another issue that we used to suffer from, but most of the micro cameras now come with an internal regulator, so we don't have to add one of our own, which adds weight. So the next thing is going to be to get the goggles out and take this for a spin. That's going to be fun. I love FPV.
All mounted and ready. A couple of spins of the props to make sure that we're all set, and we'll lift off here in just a moment. And of course, with this unit, we know it will FPV. We've seen this particular kind of vehicle a couple of times, and it's going to FPV just fine. And as you see here, as I start to fly, the controls feel kind of mechanical, especially when you look at those yaws. They're kind of, a certain amount of degrees of turn, and then it stops. And that's a little bit the pilot. He has a difficult time with real small controllers. I'm a pincher, but in this case, I have to use my thumbs. And it's part of just the lack of the controller having that sort of precision as well. So a combination of those two things gives you this very mechanical feel. But for somebody who's just getting started out and wants to explore it in a safe and low cost manner, these are good options. Of course, you can upgrade this and put in your own flight controller and make it much more customizable and what we oftentimes refer to as hobby grade. There is a limitation of this remote control we're going to see here in just a minute. I tried to line up that table but couldn't quite get it. But as we go through the door here, we're going to have some difficulties. And that difficulty is the control range right there. It kept the last command and just drove right into that empty fish tank. So I'm sitting upstairs at the table. That'll give you an idea of the control range with this particular remote. And I try to get it out of there, but between the controls actually connecting up and allowing me to make a movement, but not really being able to control it, I have to kind of give up and go fetch it. And well, actually, I get closer. I stand at the top of the stairs. Here the vehicle's just waiting for me to do something. Gotta get myself up out of the chair and get the goggles situated. So I've moved and now I've regained control, and you'll see me here at the top of the stairs when we come back out. So our range, our control range is a bit limited. But again, for a starting out vehicle, it's not terrible. I got clear downstairs and made a path around, but once I got kind of underneath myself, that's where we kind of lost it. Here I just set it down so I can go back to the chair and sit down again. This particular camera is the Banggood CM275T. It's got a linear antenna on it, as you saw when we connected that up, and it performs pretty well. And it's, I think, about 25, or the Banggood pricing, it varies from hour to hour, it seems like, but you should be able to obtain it for under $30, somewhere between $20 and $30. Again, if you're getting started, you could get some nice functioning goggles similar to what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing my Fat Sharks. I'm wearing the KDS Kylan Vision goggles, and those are about $100, but I would say they have a functional equivalent in the Furibee VR01s. I recently reviewed those on the channel, and I was quite impressed. I've been through a number of different goggles, and those were comfortable. They had a nice resolution to where the image looked good, and they had good reception for the transmission, so you had a good signal through your flights. And I actually found them very comfortable because of the lack of weight, because you can rig up something to have the battery. Andy RC just posted his review of those goggles, and he took a battery and kind of zip tied it to the strap. I just left it laying on the table or in my lap, depending upon where I was flying when I was using those. And those are going to be a set of goggles that I'm going to try to get some family members involved in FPV, and probably this vehicle as well, because I think they're good options. Talk about a few things we have coming up on the channel. Hopefully some parts will show up. I have a build just about completed. I have a build that's nearly complete. It's a 2-inch brushless ducted indoor flyer. You could take the ducks off and fly it outside. The name of that is escaping me right at this moment. Oh, it's the Q85 from Quattro Volant. And then also the Pico X, which I bought a ducted option for. So those will be coming to the channel when we get some parts in. But we've pretty much concluded all there is to see here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the section down below. And thanks for watching.